One of yours, it's one of mine. I think about you all of the time. One of yours.
The electronic nature of what we do means that we can do whatever we want, really. Like, we're not limited to a certain sound palette that, say, a rock band would be limited to, or other bands, you know. Like, the electronics allow you to go anywhere you want. So we wanted the album to sound like a real journey and have real diversity. You know, they say that the most important bit of every live band is their drummer. Like, they say, like, that is the anchor of every live band's performance, like how good their drummer is. And we just took that away and made our drummer this kind of perfect, you know, computerized being.
So I wanted to ask you guys how you all sort of formed, you know, initially.
4 out of the 5 of us kind of went to college together, and then didn't play any music together really, but we sort of all knew each other from music nights there. And then you guys you knew each other from school before, and then I played in a different band, and then we kind of all got back together somehow. Eventually, I think I was the last one to join, and I kind of played some gigs with these guys without a bass player, and I was like, God, these guys are lacking in rhythm section. And so my band kind of sort of disbanded when we lost our bass player, and I started playing with these guys, and then I think we like wrote Cut and Run, like the first song that we did.
That's a great song, Cut and Run. And I wanted to ask you about your one of your bigger tracks, Underworld. What went into that? You know, the songwriting process and the production process for that song.
Like, we were really close to going into our album session. We were working with this producer called Jim Abyss, and he's this great guy. And we kind of outlined all the tracks of the album, and then it was really soon before we went into the studio that I demoed it at home, and then brought it in. I was super excited about it, but I'm always excited about anything I demo. The guys totally nuts. I've done it, guys. I've really nailed this one. And so most of the time I haven't. And then I found this one, I sent it around everyone seemed to be excited about it, and then we kind of started developing it as a band, which is usually the way we do things, from kind of demo, and then everyone kind of starts chipping in. It all happened really quickly, but we made the beats. I was staying out in Kent, and my dad has a house in the countryside, and there's a gate, when you go on walks, there's a metal gate for these cows. And I remember going out with my sampler and sampling, shutting the gate and the latch and stuff. And lots of the beats are made with that. And then the grass around. So lots of it, it's really nice listening to it because I can hear the bits that I was walking around and stuff. And Toves did a lot of production. And then the guys came in and just, as they always do, just added it and made it a much better thing than it would have been without.
I definitely want to talk about the overall vibe of the album. It really goes in a lot of different places. It goes from alternative with, you know, guitar elements, and then it has very sort of industrial sounds as well. When you initially went in, is that what you wanted, or is that sort of the combination of everyone's talents in the band?
The whole thing wasn't really like going in to do a session to record an album, in as much as it was more about kind of a whole collection of songs over quite a long period of time.
There's an idea of how the electronics should sound, but at the same time, you know, everyone's little parts and how everyone plays naturally influenced how those tracks come out. I mean, you know, we're not going to stick in Skrillex style, you know, dubstep beats. You know, there's kind of a thought put to that about the nuances of these things.
Albums are just snapshots, aren't they, of a band at a certain moment in time. And I think first albums are necessarily much wider picture, because they say you have 18 years to write your first album and 18 months to write your second, you know. So like the first album for us really was a period of songwriting that spanned like a long time, kind of 4 or 5 years for us. And there's songs, The Endless Invitation I wrote ages ago, you know, and then Underworld was written just when it was made. And so I think the next album would be different in that. I mean, we always wanted a real breadth and a real variety to stuff. Just because I was getting bored with just listening to albums.
Another one of my favorite tracks is Push It. That track definitely has such an interesting build. When you first wrote it, did you imagine it building into such a colossal, epic ending where all the elements tie it together?
Actually written in perhaps the most traditional way of a band really feeding off each other, and hence why it ended up being such a long song with a stupidly long outro. But that's one of its sort of greatest strengths, I think. So,
It feels like it's a reward though.
Yeah, and that's the pay. Yeah, exactly.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough to write a song that long. You know, I think, and it wasn't a conscious choice ever. We had a drum machine. We just put on a 4/4 kick. It was just on a loop, and we just played and jammed to it. And Toby had a riff.
Yeah.
And it began then, and I remember we used to go into this rehearsal room in Putney in South London and just play it like, it was all we did every rehearsal for like weeks and weeks. Do you remember? Just like jamming it and jamming it. And then by the end, we had all these sections and we didn't know what to do with them all. So we just thought, we'll just try and stitch them all together.
Yeah.
And so you had bits at the end, which I think we jammed when they were at the start, and like you just eventually like, I really like how it sounds on record because it sounds like a band jamming together. You know what I mean? And just following this kind of thing. And then we just thought we'd keep it, and it's essentially like a 7-minute pop song.
Cool. So after all the tour, what's sort of the next step for you guys? Do you want to rush back in the studio? Do you kind of just want to jam and work through ideas?
But we're working on album 2 at the moment, and we've sketched out a lot of tracks for that, and I think it's just a continuation of that, and then more gigs into the new year, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan.
Duologue, everybody.
You're not the same as me.
Hi guys, we're Duologue and you're watching
GroundSounds.